as I will endeavor to show, the standard set by Justice Anna, set against the happenings of today and officialdom and the general public, it's rather troubling. Excuse me to be as blunt as my usual self, because I think truth engenders good results. Manipulation, opportunism, maneuvering, connections, these things pull a nation down. And everybody is bound to suffer from it in one way or the other. I'm happy to acknowledge my one-time boss for all time indeed, distinguished Professor Kwamna Hoy. I came close to him when I was called upon to serve as the chairman of the then Upper Regional Investigations Committee. He was then the boss, the coordinator of the revolutionary organs, Civic Vetting Committee, National Investigations Committee, Public Tribunal, all. As I became his assistant. However, I beat him in one respect. In Commonwealth Hall, where we were, he was a year behind me. And so to that extent, the scales were a bit in my favor. He's a very intelligent person, so born in our youthful days, if I may say so. He was our chief Vandal priest. On Vandal's Day celebration, he would make libation in all the terms unacceptable to everybody except to Commonwealth Hall members. Bacchanalian orgies we indulge in at the time. So I said, oh, what is man? He's always up and down, with friends. And then I was warned that he's very, very intelligent. And it turned out to be so. Got second class upper. Those days it was rare to attain. From there he became a Rhodes Scholar. The rest is history, you know everything. He became the most distinguished secretary and later minister for local government. All the local government structures we are enjoying today are his handiwork. So I think I'm justified to spend a few special minutes on him. This is the second time I'm delivering a lecture in honor of our most distinguished statesman in all respects, Justice Daniel Anna. It seems there's some crude affinity of providence between me and him. My middle name is Anam. Most of the time when people see it, they spell it as Anam. And I know it's because of his stature. Not only in Ghana here, when I was in Sierra Leone, chairs and commissions of inquiry. My name was rendered that way, even in the constitutional instrument establishing the particular commission I was to head. So you see, this is a reflection of the stature of the man. In Sierra Leone, they could not understand that somebody is called Anam instead of Anna. Certainly because of him. That's the immensity of the stature of the man we are celebrating today. One cannot question God about anything. Sometimes I wonder why a person of this stature and quality should be within the jurisdiction of death. And our Supreme Court, despite its supremacy, cannot restrain the death of anybody, however exalted and illustrious. God's ways are the best. Justice Daniel Annan was a man of quality, dedication, principle, integrity, commitment to the welfare of his countrymen, the fullest sense of it. To start with, he was a man who allowed his education, particularly the legal education, to pass through him properly. Understand that it's not everybody who goes through education and is actually educated, but he went through it and was fully and thoroughly educated. The purposes of relevant service and commitment to his fellow human brethren. Today, I don't know whether our body politic exhibits or manifests his kind in any serious numbers. First of all, Justice Annan's life can be viewed from his days as a lawyer, as a judge, as a member of the executive, and the head of the legislature, and then as a member to the generality of our republic. In each of these areas, he applied himself with inflexible integrity, immense humility. I use the words immense humility deliberately. Immensity connotes probably the opposite of humility. But his is of such a stature that I think the two can go together. He was absolutely humble, a man of the people in every respect. As a lawyer, he was soon noted by his peers, both at the bar and on the bench, as a very learned and astute attorney. But he became an assistant state attorney in 1958. And within a short span of 6 years, he became a senior state attorney. That's not a joke, because I remember a friend of mine, he passed on several years ago, and my good friend, Cletus Avoka, will know him. This man spent over 12 to 13 years to become a senior state attorney. He took half of the time. To be able to do that, it requires not just intellectual power, but the zeal and commitment, the belief in the principles and philosophy of the law, and a stirring from deep within to rise up to those principles. Now, having become a senior state attorney in 1964, he was appointed as a circuit court judge. Those days, probably unlike today, I think I should leave out the word probably, unlike today, elevation to the bench was something lawyers aspired to. Even those who amassed wealth from private practice. Some of them felt that the ultimate fulfillment of their legal career was elevation to the bench. Some aspired to get there and never did, though they were very good at the bar. Because it's not just the knowledge of the law, but integrity in all respects, humility. Now, the remarkable thing about Justice Anna is that even as a circuit judge, he achieved the record of having two of his very eminent and learned judgments specially reported in the Ghana Law Reports by the editors who could not know what to do with the sterling quality of those judgments. One of them related to the question of special legislation. It was thought that if a statute, however casually, mentions an institution, it thereby becomes exempt from the normal corporate principles. This is Anand debunked that. Up to date, my learned friends are here. You can contradict me if I'm wrong. He's the only judge who attained that record of having his judgments reported in the Ghana Law Reports, even from his office as a circuit court judge Normally, the Ghana law report judgments of the Superior Courts of Ghana. The Superior Court starts from High Court, going up to the sky. This man made a difference for all time. The man we are dealing with. That's why I'm saying he was a man of great commitment, dedication to whatever he was doing, had a passion for it. Now, within a short span of about not more than 10 years, he rose from Circuit Court through High Court to the Court of Appeal, from which he retired. I'll have to ascertain accurately the date of his retirement, because I've met some materials which place the date differently from 1979, and the circumstances too. However, before I ever met him, I wondered why such a legal luminary should desert the bench, as it were. That's how I regarded it. Because we needed his type, his mettle on the bench. In this book, Justice Daniel Francis Anna, In the Service of Democracy, co-authored by Nana Atudazi and Kwamna Hoy. His whole life story has been told in all the facets of his human involvement in the course of his life as a Ghanaian. I pause to say, not because Prof. Kwamna Hoy is here, but because it's the truth, that probably the best way of commemorating the life and legacy of Justice Anna is for everybody, and particularly every MP, or anybody in public service, and even out of public service, to acquire this book and read it thoroughly. It is deceptively short. I think it purports to end at page 165. But despite its shortness, it is loaded with great details of the coverage of the life and legacy of this man. I wish to commend these two people who, I must confess, that the perception, I may be wrong, is that people who have gotten into political life are not often faithful to the facts of the situation they have to report on or deal with. This is an exception. It's a very true and faithful account of the role of Justice Francis Daniel in the service of Ghana. All the happenings, from his days as a lawyer, as a judge, particularly the days when he was involved in the NDC administration, and in Parliament. Very truthful account. Okay. Some water. Don't mind the coughing, because if I drink, after about 50 minutes, I'll be applying for leave to go to some other place. But thank you nonetheless. If it becomes too severe, I'll risk it. So I have reviewed my share of the general perception that people who have gotten involved with politics are not to be looked to for the truth concerning anything important. They have strictly kept to the truth, whether black or white, in favor or against the son in this narration. I don't know how many of their kind we can still have in today's Ghana. Justice Annan, as a judge, was a true judge. And when I say this, my very good friend, learned friend, Cletus Avoka, can give you details of why I'm saying so. Well, we were contemporaries at the bar back in Bolgatanga. And some of the judges we had were very good, very few. Others were the opposite of judges. And it is a great lamentation that we're forced to call them justices instead of injustices. Some were the very embodiment of injustice, sitting there pretending to be judges. These are real things. He is a living witness. Justice Annan was the direct opposite of those unfortunate ones. I'll give you examples from this book. I think maybe that was the time I was circuit judge. I think we must have all heard of Krobo Eduse. Was, I don't know whether to call him famous or infamous Minister of Interior under Nkrumah. Far away in the north, when we were growing up, we heard that this man had gathered such extravagant and unlimited opulence that he used to say that the distance between poverty and himself and his family was not measurable. It's immeasurable. And we heard that he had bought a golden bed worth £3,000, not worth at £3,000 sterling, for his wife. And he had a special villa to himself, a Cha villa or something, coming from Kumasi, a few miles from, it's on the hill. The authors have captured what happened to that lady when she was prosecuted before Justice Daniel Anna. She had locked up the staff of the electricity department who had come to her house either to read the meter or to disconnect it. So she was arraigned under a charge of unlawful detention before Justice Anna. She was arrogantly sure, because of the stature of the husband and her own flaunted opulence, that she would walk free. To her shock, Justice Anna convicted her and sentenced her to imprisonment. Later, people came to plead, and he reviewed the sentence. And after her release, he was invited to a dinner in their house. He went there and was appalled to see that the plates and the cutlery were all gold-plated. And this pained him at heart. It's all stated in this truthful book. Another time, also recounted in this book, a rich man who had a case before him came to his residence with a sack full of money, tried to influence him. And as recounted in the book, Justice Annan gave him up to the count of 3 to disappear or else be arrested by the police. This was a true judge, not the type later on we experience and continue to experience. I said, we continue to experience. Some of them are terrible, and we know it. Let me give a crude example. My good friend is here. For those who don't know, he's a very prominent Kusasi citizen, almost of the same rank with the Bokunaba. That's his stature in Kusau traditional area, and rightfully so. There came a time, the Boko crisis didn't start today. And I'm sad to say that even though it didn't start today, it has persisted to today with terrible, terrible, terrible losses of life, not to talk of property. Happily, this is much traceable to political intrusion. That's why when politics is played without rectitude, things are bound to miscarry, to the chagrin, despair, and oppression of the people. So this problem kept on simmering over the years. At a certain stage, some helpless peasants were hauled before the circuit court on a charge of unlawful assembly and forgotten the other part of it, riot. Helpless. We saw these people. Even if your heart and mind are made of iron, you will not deal with them the way they were dealt with. They were not armed, just processing along the street to state their stand on the matter. They were all hauled in charge, as I've said. They were not represented, but on these charges and on these slender facts, they were sentenced to 7 years imprisonment with hard labor. My good friend, Dr. Savoka, and his colleague decided that there was no need to go afar to look for counsel. They thought that I could handle the case. I thank them for that confidence they had in me. Now, when I took the record, those were the days of classical justice. So, you don't blame me for the submissions I was compelled to make. I read the record and found that these people were tried without any plea at all being taken. And that's the commencement of criminal proceedings in the court of law. If you plead not guilty, the trial ensues. If you plead guilty, at the end of the matter, except you add words which throw doubt on your guilt, then a plea of not guilty will be entered. And there was a Court of Appeal decision written by Azukrab for the court unanimously. In a case where the proceedings were conducted without any plea at all. And they said it was an illegal trial, reversed the conviction and sentence and acquitted. And so as saw this authority that I thought I was on solid ground. So among other things, that was the first point, ground of appeal I took before the judge. He has since passed on, and I do not know whether happily so or not. Anyway, so later, my very good friend told me that the judge said, oh, your lawyer, his arguments are very, very cogent, very sound. Oh, he's doing very well, but it all depends. That was the riding clause. It all depends. Nonsense. You are to do justice. You not to do the justice according to the principles of law. On what else should it depend? Anyway, in the long run, he quashed the sentence, but not without what I call extortion. And this is a man calling himself High Court judge. I've told you, this is not the type of judge Justice Daniel Annan was. He was the direct opposite. And that's why we're celebrating him today. And I'm compelled to castigate his colleagues who did the opposite. So committed to integrity was Justice Annan that when his own son was involved in some criminal activity in the UK, and he heard of it, he said the law should take its own course, and that the Ghana mission there should do nothing at all about him. It was only by the stroke of luck that he ended up being acquitted. This is the type of man we are celebrating. His own son, his first son. So no, law should be allowed to take its course. Let me deviate a bit and give you a similar example. Chief Justice Apalu, while he was on the Supreme Court, his own younger brother was convicted of printing counterfeit currency. He was sentenced, I think, to 15 years. Though Apalu was high up there. When he came on appeal, it was reduced just to 10, from 15 to 10 years. That's the kind of justice that was obtaining there. Today, is it imaginable? You can see the difference. And that's why, as lawyers, when you read the judgments of those days, as against latter years, you will see a serious difference. Some of our judges are of high mettle, but the judicial stability is quite in question. I'm not saying all of them are so. I'm not telling you anything new. We're all Ghanaians, you know. So this was the kind of man as a judge. Now, having retired from the bench, I think it was only 50 years. When I had opportunity to meet him, I think that was 1992, I'll tell you what led me to meet him. It's also recounted in this book. That's why I say it's a book of strict factual detail. I was the legal advisor to the late Sandina Azantilo. I was handling all his cases, particularly chieftaincy. That was one of them. the Chichilga chieftaincy case. That was a tough one. Because for them, the Chichilga people said the Sounding Nap was not their enskinning authority. And they brought an action against him in the House of Chiefs, Regional House of Chiefs. Now, sometimes there's a conflict between law and morality. But if you allow, say, your conscience and fear of God to direct you, sometimes you can depart from the strict law to let justice prevail. Here was a man, he was illiterate, but he had caused to be written for him a document which showed that he had no right to go and enskin a chief in Sandema, even if he were the enskinning authority. The enskinment must be done at Chichulga. He thumbprinted. Luktera was counsel on the other side, was tendering this in evidence. So let me look at it. Of course, there was no jurat or any attestation that the document had been read and explained to him in a language he understood. So I wanted to object, but I showed it to his son, this very likable man, Zantilo, I think he was. Sylvester, thank you very much, Zantilo. He was the one always coming to brief me on behalf of the father. I called him, I said, this thing, is that your father's thumbprint? Is that his document? He said, yes. So I allowed it. Though technically I could have said, well, he's an illiterate son, so, but the man has told me that is, so I let it go in. God was later to reward me, probably for that. And so I think we won the case at the regional level, but on appeal to the National House of Chiefs, we lost. And I gave appeal papers to Sylvester Azantolo to go and file. We went and filed them out of time. Around that time, I came to Accra. It's not that I used to come to the Court of Appeal. And I think through Sylvester, as Anand got to know that I was in town, so he invited me. When I got to his house, I was struck with, this man of such pedigree and stature. I think he was wearing a shorts and sitting on some very simple chair. So when I got there, I said, can this be the same? So now, he received me very, very cordially and explained that the Sunday nap was his friend, and so he wanted to know what was the matter concerning that his case. And as I said, this book is strictly factual. It's captured in two places that Justice Anand was a good friend of the Sunday nap. So what he said is strictly true. So I briefed him. I think that was the time I was nominated for the Supreme Court. And let me tell you, that whatever we think and like to do on our own, the horse, the remit of the statutes of the Lord, is just an act in self-deceit, because you cannot escape from its consequences, whether in the immediate or long-term spans of time. So I briefed him. We're out of time, but I developed some argument which said that if you follow the sequence of events after the delivery of the judgment, because they had to give some orders which came after the time we filed our appeal. So I said, well, time cannot be said to have run when the adjudication process itself was incomplete. Anyway, it happened that there was a court of appeal decision to the contrary. Now, people with corrupt minds would have thought that Justice Annan would have used his overpowering judicial stature to interfere with the judicial process. At all. He did not. However, I heard later that when I appeared before the vetting committee of Parliament, he was asking whether I made reference to the fact that I was from the North. Sadly, I had to do it because of the type of question they put before me. I was narrating the events. And my good friend is here. At the time there was no Northerner on the Superior Court. So our Upper Regional Bar convened a meeting and nominated me for Court of Appeal. I said I wasn't interested in the bench. Said they are doing it. If it comes and I won't go, it's up to me. Anyway, cut a long story short, it turned out to be a nomination for the Supreme Court. And you'll be shocked to know, it was many years after I came to the bench that I got to know that I was nominated by, let me be careful here, one Adam, a few have forgotten his other names. He was a son of Okaja. He nominated me for the Supreme Court. I'd never met him. Anyway, I was surprised, but he did that. And it went through anyway. Later in life, I was also to do similar things. I nominated one Ezi, who was assistant editor of the Ghana Law Reports, and also a long-standing lecturer in interpretation of deeds and statutes in the Ghana School of Law. So there was a time I felt that the Supreme Court needed judicial alignment, realignment. Well, I mean, I have a vehicle and it suffers from alignment. What happens? I was inside there and I felt so. And I felt I had to do something about it. At that time, Professor Mills was the president. When I had a short span of acting period of authority, I decided to submit this Eze's name. And then Professor Kwashiga. For him, it was on the General Legal Council that I detected how upright this man was. People tried to manipulate him, put him on some committees, hoping that he would come out with a report that will say that no, he kept to the truth on all occasions. So I took notice of him, submitted his name. And then Prempa Ek. I didn't know Prempa Ek well, but look at his stature. So I benefited from a nomination from somebody who didn't know me, and it played out in my own life later on. So much for his judicial stature. Except to say that when I met him, I asked why he left the bench so early. And his explanation, which happens to be the same thing in this book, is that the Court of Appeal was the then highest court of the land. He had reached it, and there was no room for upper progression. And so he decided to leave. The same thing stated in this book. Such was the man. I'm stressing all these things because, as I said, there's a yawning gap between the life story of this man and today's happenings. It's a yawning gap. Very unfortunate. I must be blunt. Now, you see, having acquitted himself as a state attorney, senior state attorney, assistant state attorney, as a circuit judge, high court judge, court of appeal judge, with impeccable integrity, he carried this frame of mind and character into the PNDC when he was appointed in 1984 as a member of the PNDC. Obviously, there was revulsion to his appointment. He's one of the targets of the revolution. They are bringing him because those days, the revolutionary cadres and those who were committed to the leftist tradition were very skeptical of anybody with that background. He was from a rich family. His parents were merchants, very successful merchants. His grandfather, his own father. That's why he studied in England. And so they were very skeptical. This man is coming to dilute the revolution. Cannot possibly be one of them. But being the principled man he was, he soon endeared himself to his colleagues in and out of the PNDC government. He was very humble, open-minded. He had a great listening ear. No matter your station of life, he will listen to you fully. He was a great listener. In fact, in this book, The repeated expression about his functioning on the PNDC was that he often laid back, gave way to others, and then will come in towards the end with quiet and trenchant analysis of issues. And then he would win over those who had contract. That's how he was getting along with his son. So in a short time, he became very popular. And I'm not surprised, therefore, that these eminent authors who worked closely with him in the PNDC days and after have thought it fit, necessary, and compelling to write this sterling book in his honor. And as I said, anytime we want to celebrate the memory of this man, the easiest way will be to take this book and read out one or two of the sterling statements about his role. One cannot do better about Justice Anand's legacy and life than this book has done. He soon became a darling of Jerry John Rawlings because he saw the kind of person he was. He wasn't imposing his views on anybody. He was a man of consensus. And sometimes he would back down from his own position in favor of other opinions. That's how he endeared himself to everybody. And so they made him chairman of the National Commission for Democracy. And from there, we know what he did. Went all over the country to solicit views. And packaged the report in such a way that it would not offend revolutionary sensibilities, and particularly the typical mindset of Jerry Rawlings. If you try to discredit the revolutionary process for which he stood, he will show you that you cannot have your way. But he was a man also. Incidentally, this book reveals that Rawlings was a man who stood for democracy, a man of the people. Now, when he said, power belongs to the people, power belongs to the people. He meant it. He meant it. He stood by it. But Justice Anand and his team tactfully reported that from their rounds and interactions, interviews of and with the people, the conclusion they came to was that the people were not opposed to a return to multi-party democracy. That's full of wisdom. Well, if they had tried to say, oh, the people are incensed against the revolution, and so forth, Rawlings will show you that he's in charge. Who burned dog? But then this was how they put it. He didn't feel attacked. and allow the process to go through. Oh, this is how Justice Annan was. Man of wisdom and tact. Then we know the rest of the history. Before the consultative assembly, the committee of experts to come up with proposals for the next constitution of Ghana. And the consultative assembly. We know that the Bar Association and the NUCs boycotted. Well, true to their stance in the PNDC, that power belonged to the people. The Constituent Assembly was composed not of aristocrats and three-piece suit wearing pseudo-monarchs, but of tailors, seamstresses, fishermen offshore and inland. What's the other aspect of it? Offshore and, all right, onshore, whatever. The brass tacks of society, they were in there. Well, on her side, it was very democratic, but whether these people could understand the constitutional processes. What I heard was that some of them, the hairdressers were just come after some time, they are leaving. But the opportunity was given. There are others also who were learned. And so the Constitution was put to them. They debated it, and as we know, it went to referendum. And one of the thorniest issues was, as we know, the immunity clauses. These were negotiated, as bluntly recounted in this book, between the PNDC, the chairman of the Consultative Assembly, and his deputies. And they were added. Then it went to referendum. People were obviously not happy with that. But then that's the trouble with human nature. These indemnity clauses didn't start from the 1992 Constitution, 69, 79 Constitution, all there. But because of political poison and the insincerity of some human beings, hue and cry is raised against that. Now, common sense would have told you that, Rawlings and his cliques, they didn't risk their lives for their own benefit. In fact, the very people were calling for, let the blood flow. And so after doing that for the people, for the common benefit, you should turn around and send them to the gallows. Some people will stand for that. And that is what sometimes baffles me about humanity. Can be straightforward and sincere. Anyway. So, Justice Annan was largely the brain behind this 92 Constitution as we have it. And it keeps on marching on, it survives. We know what happened to the others. And later on, the staunch opponents to the process were hailing it as a truly democratic system. It's all recounted here. That was the achievement of Justice Annan, Kwame Nkrumah, Tudasi, and the rest. In all this, you see the common thread of integrity, sincerity, tact, and skill, wisdom, operating to the benefit of the people of this country. Let me go a little step back. Well, yes, although it concerns the judicial, but this one, he did it when he was with the PNDs. I was still not drink water. When the new constitutional order was approaching, Justice Annan deeply felt that the judiciary needed some alignment. Some elements there were undesirable, not in the political sense, but in terms of quality, performance. He made the then Attorney General discuss this. It was G.E.K. Akins, another man of principle. I don't know why in later years. Anyway. And they discussed it with the leadership of the bar. And the list for removals and promotions was settled. Nonetheless, when the announcement came, the leadership of the bar at that time said they were not aware of it. I thought the bar deteriorated in recent times. But I started, even then, at least in this wise. I don't know why the then president, my own good friend, Emir, did that. He's a prominent lawyer. Kumasi, we did cases together. I was puzzled. And if I have to go further, the more shocking thing is that Justice Sowa, a man who exudes qualities of Justice Annan, also said he wasn't aware. Maybe, of course, they fear the backlash from their own circles. They feel that they are traitors. But if you are convinced of something, stand by it. There's no diplomacy when you are dealing with the truth and the need to take corrective action, rectify things, your common interests. Some of those affected were just Annan's own friends. So the petition against the removals, only one or two went through, the rest. Thus, I'm happy his name is perpetually preceded by the word justice, true justice. Daniel Francis Annan. That's what he did, his own institution. For the good of this country. Today, let us put all pretense aside and sheer political opportunism the emasculation of conscience, and see whether today people can do that. It's doubtful, and that's where we stand in this country today. All is not lost. Before I round up, just Annan took the wise stand. Yes, Rawlings stood for a good cause, but the mechanics of, implementing it is another thing. They felt that power can be given to the people through democracy, can be established without excesses. And through tact, wisdom, persuasion, consensual discussions, his viewpoint prevailed. And if he were the type of contemporary times, he would not have benefited the way you have done. He was simply licking the boots of Rawlings to get whatever benefits in terms of money and whatnot he could. That's today's trend. I know many will dispute that, but many too will admit that that is the present station. And it's unfortunate. Anyway, as proof of his sincerity to the commitment to return to true democracy, he and others, I think Kwabena were part of it. They sourced money, I think from the UK or so, to establish the Chronicle paper. I think I'm right? Purposely to inoculate Rawlings and his PNC elements against rejection of the democratic dispensation that was to unfold. So that paper started criticizing Rawlings' acts in several ways, but because of D.F. Annan and others, who told them that true democracy belongs to the people. He has to enjoy it as part of them. He didn't do anything about it. And in fact, they repealed the obnoxious laws against the media, religious bodies, and so forth. They did that. They were not compelled to do it. That's where the sincerity is. Even though they started off on a revolutionary tangent, they meant well. They kept to it. When he became Speaker of Parliament, that's where you see his commitment to democracy again. The first Parliament was boycotted by the opposition because they said the presidential election was riddled with irregularities. With hindsight, I don't know the irregularities they were referring to, but even if they were, I think they were still a pale shadow of the type that obtains today. A pale shadow. Now, when he entered Parliament, because of the military interventions, Parliament as an institution had withered. So he sought to reconstruct them, organized courses for MPs, for the staff that were recruited, go abroad and acquire skills. And more importantly, even though it was a one-way Parliament, Justice Annan wanted to ensure that Parliament was a true Parliament in the sense of being independent and having supervisory powers over the executive. So what did he do? He engineered internal opposition to parliamentary debates. He encouraged the MPs to be bold and frank on debates, take up their stand in the interests of the country, not the party. And so, even though it was a one-way Parliament, there was a move by the then Finance Minister, Dr. Kwesi Botchwey, to increase the price of fuel marginally. Annan was incensed by this, and through tactful handling of the Parliament, that proposal was rejected by an old NDC Parliament. This is the kind of man I'm dealing with. Can you imagine this type of thing today? Then, when in the second Parliament the opposition came, he was encouraging them. They caught his eye more often than the NDC members, so that the quality of parliamentary debate will be enhanced. He did that deliberately, encouraged them. And so things were done on the basis of principle, in the interests of the people of Ghana. In today's Parliament, with all due deference to the majority, Honorable Majority Leader, Honorable Minority, is that the case now? Debatable. Thank you, at least. Well, that is not it. Truth is one and indivisible, except you are talking politically. You know it. I see this Parliament as standing for something else than the interests of Ghanaians. That's how I see it. Some of them are good, but others are immersed in loyalty to the party and to whoever for the time being is president, maneuvering to progress along the political ladder, irrespective of honesty, fairness, good service to the people of Ghana. That's what I have seen, and I've said it. Thank you. I'm not saying these things out of spite. Not at all. But it's necessary. Because the ship of state has tilted very, very ominously. Happily, as I say, all is not lost. There are some people who are good politicians and of the mindset of Justice Anna. As I said, I can't question God. I wish I could. And if I could, why such a sterling man, two people, Omane Boama and Murtala Mohammed, should perish like that? I've never known these people personally, but I follow things. I lost interest in Ghanaian TV by what is worthwhile watching on TV. But of late, I follow things on social media, on my phone. And I decipher the trend of things from there. It's from there that I've seen that these people were principled politicians, incorruptible, pro-people. Unfortunately, let me make this connection. My tears will never dry for the loss of these people. Politicians, whether you like it or not, power belongs to the people, and it pays to be connected to the grassroots at all times. They own the state, not you. Let me give a crude example. I have a younger brother who is socially dynamic. He has friends across the political divides. He is up and down in town. I'm the opposite of him. But he brings me sometimes information which I would never have access to. In connection with the passing of these eminent people, he said there's a girl who was begging along the street. They regarded her as mentally unstable. On the day that this crash was to happen, they heard the girl shouting, "Oh, send me to Mahama, send me to Mahama," because a plane will fly. If that plane flies today, it will fall and the people will die. So she's now, if he had passed this information to me, I don't have connections with government and politicians, but at least one or two. It's part of life. You get to know somebody. Not that you'll be going to that person, but you know him at least. You have his contact. I would have passed that information to that person. Let it reach Mahama. That's why it is dangerous to discount anybody in life. There's a similar story about the late Ignatius Kutu Achampong. Very prayerful man. It was a revelation. On the day he was deposed, he shouldn't go to office. God sought to restore him by spraining his ankle. Nonetheless, he was told that they were waiting for him. He got up in the pain, and a certain young boy was shouting by his house, "Today is the day, oh, today is the day." Oh, come on, he went, the rest is history. So, that's why I say that you can disregard the people, but since they are the people of God, the consequence will visit you one way or the other. That's why I don't understand, and I've said it on some media platforms. Elections are coming, the politicians are free with everybody, drinking palm wine, pounding fufu, washing clothes, more than people of the people. As soon as the results come, their calls will not be picked, whether by the ministers or MPs. What kind of life is this? Just a day before, we're all one. Today, victory has come. You have no, I mean, is that how it should be? Good. I think I've overshot my time. And particularly with the Vice President here, Nazansha has another engagement. Let me conclude this way, although I would have loved to say more things. Ghana has departed in a large measure from principle, from true democratic adherence, to monetization of the political process. Is that why our parents sacrificed to send us to school, come back and defraud them, pay tricks, buy? The way it's like a business now. It's like somebody buying a timber concession. He has paid for it so he can exploit to the maximum. That is the trend. And it's despicable. And I emphasize that. Better turn around for the better. It's important to start turning around for the better. Have you people read this book before? Both majority and minority, have you read this book? I want to know. If you have, keep to it. It's the correct thing, the correct way to run this country. I wish I had money. I would have bought it for everybody in Ghana. And every MP should get this book. Every minister, every president, and vice president. Get this book. It will inoculate you if you need inoculation from the vices of aberration that have brought us to where we are today. Our political system now, we look at it, I see the debates in Parliament. I don't see that it is a struggle over the national interest. It's a struggle for party supremacy. Supremacy of the leadership of the party and the resultant benefits from it. That's what I see. It's like a tug of war at all times. NDC comes to power. The sole objective of NDC is to pull them down and come back to power and share the goodies of office. That's the trend. At least that's what I see. I've said that all is not lost. It's unfortunate that Murtala Mohammed and Omani Boma have passed on. But there are others. Somebody like Zaneto Rawlings. She's not a politician. She's a woman of the people. I've been following her activities. I don't know, I've never spoken to her, never met her. But I'm convinced that that's the kind of politician people should aspire to be. Up till now, And that's why I don't get involved in political sector. I don't know why she's not yet a minister. I hope by saying that I've not destroyed her chances. From social media, it seems there are, sometimes they even announce her as Deputy Minister of Health. I say, oh, she could even be the substantive. Then something. But I think there's something that, why not? Why not? Such a woman of principle, of dedication, of integrity. Why not? You have another person. I've never seen him, but since the days of his bold uprising, if I may so put it, against the former finance minister, I've developed a soft spot for him. What's his name? Apia Kubi. The price he paid for that was the loss of his seat. Look at that. For standing on the correct thing, he should be like the type of politics. Is that commendable? I also want to acknowledge the stance of Chairman Sabonsu, who said that it is not necessary to create more parliamentary seats. But I don't know why a small country like Ghana, the number was 100 or so, or up to 270. For what reason and purpose? What is the true benefit to the people from this kind of thing? Most of it is gerrymandering. Sometimes it plays out to the benefit of the person who indulges, sometimes not. Ghana, it needs an ever-increasing number of MPs with the attendant economic burdens. I'm happy that the Constitutional Review Commission, committee or commission, whatever, has recommended that the 276 should be retained. No additions, no subtractions. I would have felt that because it's an even number, even if they added one, at least my people back at home, if you know their history, struggling for a constituency or a district, so many years, I thought that they would get one. But it's also their fault. There are 7 villages coming together to fight for it, and then each person. I took up this matter with the MP and NDC secretary. You say you are a revolutionary government. You are here for how many years? Have you seen the plight of these people? Their marginalization, their exploitation? What are you doing about it? He said, oh, in principle, the district has been approved for our people. But I should go and get them to agree on the headquarters. And I said, look, you have just seen me in Bolga here, and you think that I'm so capable. I'm from there. And I know the very, very ignoble divisions and inclinations, even including highly educated people, taking their levels along these despicable lines of thinking. Every village wanted the headquarters to be in their village, whether it's central or to the extreme end. So I went and tried, but I couldn't succeed. And I knew I was not likely to succeed. But I only went because I was telling him, you are the government. If you want, put in place an an independent, credible committee to survey the whole area and report back to you the most central part. Start the assembly. Who can stop you? He was not prepared to take that. It was later, I probably got to know as for politicians. I want to carry blame. I was thinking in terms of votes. Maybe they do it and some people are not happy. That's not the way to go. Anyway, to sum up, let us go back to the days of Justice Daniel Annan, the days of Azukrap, Apalu. So it's just unfortunate that incident, but he was an upright judge. Very upright. If you read the constitutional case, you see that these were people committed to true justice. And they were learned. They did Ghana good. Gave equality. I'm sorry the Vice President is here, because I was going to give her as an example of the type of DF Anna. She's not a politician. Very principled. Very, very principled. Like Annan, who found himself in power and didn't get tainted. Politicians these days don't seem to put store by such people. No, she has a selling quality. Hey, I too can be president, so ignore her. Let's maneuver. You can buy the delegate and so forth. Become president. Nonsense. We must eschew these things. I'm sorry I've overdragged. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justice Atuguba. Thank you so much. In spite of your announced status of health, you have really taken us to school.
God has sustained me.
God has sustained you. Thank you very much. And I think he has really taken us to school. Version 2 is going on there. At this point, we would like to invite the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Bernard Ahiafo, to come and give us closing remarks. And there are a number of people here that we would like to acknowledge, beginning from Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, who has broken the glass ceiling of being the first female Vice President of this Republic. We also have His Royal Majesty, King Takite Kochu II, the Gamanche, who is a relation to the man who we celebrate here. Thank you very much. So, Deputy Speaker, after which we'll acknowledge the rest of you, and then we'll bring the meeting to a close. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, permit me to stand on the existing protocol duly established and to make this short remark for and on behalf of the Speaker of Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. It is both an honor and privilege to welcome you to Parliament House for the official parliamentary commemoration of the 20th anniversary of the passing of the late Right Honorable Justice Daniel Francis Kwaipe Annan, former Speaker of Parliament, eminent jurist, and distinguished constitutional statesman. Permit me at this point to convey the warm greetings of the Right Honorable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, Speaker of Parliament, who had looked forward to personally be at this memorial lecture, having himself delivered the memorial lecture during the commemoration of Justice Anna's 10th anniversary in 2016. Regrettably, due to unavoidable official commitments, the Right Honorable Speaker is unable to be with us this afternoon and has asked me to represent him on this occasion. I considered it a singular honor to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, today's gathering is for more than a memorial. It is a celebration of a remarkable Ghanaian whose life was dedicated to the service of the Republic and whose legacy continues to shape our democratic institutions. Justice Daniel Francis Kouyape Annan was a man of extraordinary achievement. He served with a distinction in all the cognate arms of the Republic and a chairman of the National Commission for Democracy under the Provisional National Defense Council, where he played a central role in preparing Ghana for the restoration of the constitutional rule. Thereafter, history entrusted him with another defining responsibility to become the first speaker under the Fourth Republic. During the formative years of our constitutional democracy, he provided the steady, principled, and impartial leadership that helped establish many of the parliamentary traditions and conventions that continue to guide this institution today. His contributions to Ghana's democratic journey cannot be measured solely by the high offices he occupied. Perhaps his greatest contribution was his ability to build confidence across political divides and to demonstrate that dialogue, moderation, and constitutionalism remain the surest foundation of national progress. It is therefore entirely fitting that Parliament has chosen to commemorate his life and legacy through his memorial lecture. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme for today's lecture is Democracy, Development, and National Unity, celebrating the enduring legacy of Right Honorable Justice Daniel Francis Kouyape Annan. Parliament is particularly honored that this year's memorial lecture will be delivered by Justice William Atuguba, retired Justice of the Supreme Court, who has just done justice to the topic. Justice Atuguba is one of the Ghanaians' most distinguished jurists, whose contribution to the development of our constitutional jurisprudence has left an indelible mark on our legal system. It is particularly fitting that one eminent jurist should reflect upon the life and legacy of another. Both Justice Anna and Justice Atuguba devoted their professional life to strengthening the rule of law, defending constitutional governance, and serving the Republic with distinction. We therefore look forward to a lecture that will not only celebrate Justice Annan's remarkable legacy, but also challenge us to reflect on the future of Ghana's constitutional democracy, just as he has done. Permit me to express Parliament's profound appreciation to the Annan family for partnering with Parliament in organizing this memorial and for sharing with the nation the enduring legacy of truly exceptional Ghanaian. I also wish to thank all our distinguished guests for honoring Parliament with your presence this afternoon. Your attendance is a testament to the deep respect and affection that our nation continues to hold for the memory of the late Right Honorable Justice Daniel Francis Kwepe Annan. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your kind attention.